Baby beard!
Alright, I'm a delivery boy!
Who is Hermes planning on killing?
I think we should let the orphans run free.
You've redeemed funds.
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't.
He's just an old guy.
Can we talk about evil Lincoln?
Oh, of course.
Oh, this art needs to be sent. That's not the voice at all.
That's lobstertainment.
Let's make it the
Look,
Christmas.
let me ask you this.
He was just about to agree with you.
Wow.
Shut up and take my podcast.
Oh, we got to take that collar off Ellen.
That was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you excited?
Oh, I'm. What's another word for exciting?
I'm bristling.
Bristling. I haven't got my dictionary with me. So, welcome everybody to Shut Up and Take My Podcast,
Nice.
the Futurama podcast that pits episode against
Film.
Film?
in a bloody, glorious gauntlet battle for your entertainment. I'm joined here, always and forever, by Phil,
Sean, incentivize that podcaster.
by Ellen,
Mental illness. It's okay to be ashamed.
Oh,
And
I am.
And we're joined
By
here by John.
I never thought Futurama would make a Mork and Mindy reference, but I'm all there for it.
Simpsons makes like a huge ton of Mork and Mindy references, right?
It's a comedy goldmine.
Yeah, I think
For the
so.
5 people who remember Mork and Mindy.
How
when I lived in China for about 2 years, when I
They
would come
love
home,
Mork and Mindy over there.
Well, no, here's the thing, is like when I'd come home from school, the two shows that would automatically play would coincide with be Happy Days, followed by Mork and Mindy.
Oh, right. There you go.
In China.
In China.
Huh.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Did they like dub it?
N-
What's Chinese for Shazbot? Right.
Shazbot, I think. Ladies and gentlemen, we are up to Film 3 Bender's Game, which is a reference to...
Orson Scott Card's
Ender's Game.
Yes, we are. Got nothing to do with it.
We are not in sync
No.
in this podcast.
Why do we keep trying to do that?
I don't know.
It's the amount of paracetamol and codeine
Yeah.
together. You're on different wavelengths. at the moment.
Yeah, we're all on different trips, man.
So I don't know if you've been following along, but in the movies, we've been trying things out a lot differently. So film 1, we had a lot to drink. Film 2,
That's true.
we
had a lot of coffee.
caffeine.
In film 3, we've gone to narcotics.
Yeah,
Yay.
very mild painkillers.
So tune
Speak for
into
yourself, loser.
So the Wild Green Yonder, something harder. What do
Oh
we?
god, just mix of all the previous ones.
Ciders, beer, and codeine.
Yeah, sounds great.
And
Take
coffee.
everything from your mum's cabinet and grind it up and then snort it. That's what we're on right now.
Hi, Ellen's mum.
She doesn't listen.
The director.
Never has and never will.
The director for this film is Dwayne Carey. Wow.
What the hell?
Orson
I was
Scott.
going to say Johnson.
I was still thinking Orson Scott
Card.
Card. Yeah.
Orson Scott Card.
I was thinking of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I'm sorry.
Terrible.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That fits.
I just didn't
Nice.
join.
You're out. You're all Dwayne down.
Yeah.
Dwayne is back from Bender's Big Score.
Yeah.
Very, very quick turnaround.
Yes.
I guess it's like a couple of months, so I don't know how quickly they turned around.
Yeah, I don't know what the production was like. For
Wait,
these.
did you say he's director or?
Yeah, he's the director.
Well, yeah.
Were you about to say they don't do anything? Or
It's animated, man. It's as if you can move the actors
Sure.
around.
Yeah, exactly. Their facial expressions are set.
You moved. Can we take that again, please? Animators, what? Dwayne Carey Hill is back. So what he used to do in the past was, have you ever heard of an animation show called Drawn Together?
Yes.
Right. Oh, wow. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting that. Yeah.
That was pretty much in sync.
I never watched it, but I know it's considered the first animated reality shows, the way they coined it.
Are there
I
any
guess.
other animated reality TV shows?
First and only?
Is Aqua Teen Hunger Force have a reality element to it?
I guess so.
I guess they're both under that kind of adult comedy.
Well, like
Yeah.
Birdman, his is, I guess, it's not reality TV, but it's like a talk show.
Yeah.
So.
Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, all that kind of stuff. It kind of, I guess
Yeah.
it's a natural successor to those sort of shows.
Like properly grown up animation for Twisted Grown Ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Park and stuff.
Although, is it really for grown-ups, or is it more just like edgy teens who are like, this is for grown-ups?
The MTV generation.
That's not.
I have 5 pubes now. Whoa!
I do have 5 pubes now.
Nice.
Thanks. High five, metaphorically.
Congrats.
Speaking of 5, there are 5 writers for Bender's Game.
Ooh.
One for each pube.
So, Eric Horsted. Okay, so one of the writers wrote 2 of the parts. 2 of the writers wrote the 3rd part, and 2 of the writers wrote the 4th part.
Oh.
So they actually did...
They actually break this down.
Yeah.
It's public knowledge who wrote what bit.
Yes. So Eric Horsted... look, I didn't give an extra fact because fuck that. But, okay, so Eric Horsted, who is back from A Taste of Freedom, he wrote the first 2 parts. So I assume that's... I'm guessing that's probably up until they go into Cornwood.
Yeah,
Maybe.
could be that far. I'm not even sure it's that far
It
along.
felt like we spent a lot of time in normal Futurama world.
Yes,
did.
it does.
Dropped in.
Yeah, there's a
Definitely.
long time before that.
So-
Maybe it's before the mission, like up into the mission to recover the crystal.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then
feels a bit better.
Michael Rao, who's back from our favorite episode, Bend-Her, and Eric Kaplan, who's back from The Beast of a Billion Backs. And Eric Kaplan's swan song. So yes, we are dropping off like flies still.
Oh, no.
Yeah, cool.
So
All
they
right.
did part 3.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
I feel like part 3 is like maybe the bit inside Mum's mind. That might be part 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
And David X. Cohen, back from Wire Fry, and Patrick Adam Verone, back from season 4 winner The Sting, wrote the final part.
So like, we need to do something
Final
more
part?
creative with this. I guess the Cornwood thing, because after that finishes, it's the end of the show.
Yeah, I was going to
basically.
say, was it after they've done the whole fantasy bit when they just, like, rip off Star Wars?
Yeah. They're just like, we need another reference.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to that in context.
Yeah.
So the air date for this episode, November 3rd, 2008. I believe the Australian date, if I've read my notes properly, is the 10th of December. I really don't know.
Same year?
I've got a bunch of whiteout on here as well.
It's a fucking mess.
Oh, no, that's right. Europe got this movie first.
Yes.
So Europe got it before anyone else did, including America.
Oh.
So, a few things. I think we'll add in a new segment here, which is, what did our fans say about Bender's Game? I don't have a snazzier.
Do
It's
we
just
have
a
a
very long
jingle?
title.
I thought the reason you're getting out your phone was to play like a shitty jingle
Yeah.
into the microphone, but no, you actually just got your notes on.
No, I'm sorry.
We could make a jingle.
We can make it. Go on.
Or
You guys
our
are in
audience
sync.
could, our
You're
audience
totally
could
in sync.
make a jingle. What did our fans think?
Welcome, everybody, to What Did Our Fans Think? So we asked what you all thought of Bender's Game. And here is the following. So from Pods in the Key of Springfield, a Simpsons podcast from Adelaide as well, said, my hot take, it's very bad. Side note, I don't think that's a hot take. Like,
It's
No.
not a hot take. No,
That's
it's
like, maybe it was in the oven, but like it's been in that kind of keeping it warm little kind of oven.
It's a lukewarm take.
Yeah.
It's a Bain Marie take.
my hot take, it is very bad. Having said that, I don't really remember what I didn't like about it. I haven't watched it since it came out. I remember it felt like it was just killing time before movie 4. That was James from Pods in the Key of Springfield.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Thanks, James.
Mr. Ted, who wrote back to us, who has been quite consistent in talking about the films with us,
Lovely.
said, yes, it was killing time, but it wasn't as bad as Beast with a Billion Backs.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I disagree.
Interesting. Yeah, that's all right. We'll get to that.
Blokebusters podcast, hello, sirs. They said, the first time I watched it, it was the one I liked the least of the 4. The second time I watched it, I appreciated it a lot more. It definitely needed repeat viewings to sink in. I didn't get the White Castle reference until I moved to the US, though.
I'm telling you right now, I'm not watching this a second time. I do not have time in the day, like honestly, for a 89-minute film.
87 minutes. And finally, the Let's Chat podcast said, I fucking love that movie.
Oh, there you go. Some
Okay.
dissenting opinions.
Nice
Alright.
even spread.
Well, now you can all fight each other in the comments.
There you go.
Yeah.
And yes, and finally, it did have one. I had to scour the internet to find if this had won any awards. It was nominated for one. For the Motion Picture of Sound Editors, the Golden Reel Awards. Best Sound Editing, Direct to Video. Nominated only.
Best sound
Sound
editing,
editing.
direct to video.
It did not win.
No, it lost to Batman Gotham Knight, which is who they beat for Best Animated Production, Direct to Video, Beast with a Billion Backs. So
Right.
because they both came out the same
That's
year.
a very long
This didn't
title.
even get nominated for best animation. It wasn't even good enough for that.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah.
Whoop.
And other than that, the last segment is Phil, run down that plot.
The plot. This film is about a couple of things. It's about a dark matter shortage and Bender's lack of imagination.
Yeah.
But those are the two threads. It starts with the Planet Express kids +2 playing D&D, and Bender wants to join in, but he has no imagination. Put a pin in it.
Nice.
Meanwhile, the Planet Express crew are flying around for some reason, and they run out of fuel. They get some fuel from Nibbler, but while they're fueling at the truck stop, they get harassed by some rednecks
Yeah.
who mock their ship
Filthy rednecks.
and basically challenge them to take part in a destruction derby, which they do. They join the destruction derby, smash up the ship, win, but the professor is more upset that they wasted precious fuel.
Oh, so timely.
Yes, which gets us into this whole thread about there being a dark matter shortage. While this is going on, Bender tries really hard to get his imagination going, and he succeeds, and he starts playing D&D. And Leela has anger issues and is administered a shock collar, which basically shocks her for anything.
If she's
cussing, violent thoughts, perverted thoughts, and lying.
aroused.
That's right. Yes.
Those are the four things,
Yeah.
the canon things that it shocks her for.
Everything Leela loves to do.
There's a whole thing about her going to see her parents to try and work out her issues. It doesn't go
yeah.
anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere at all.
Although I do love the pairing of Zoidberg and Leela.
Yes, I can't believe he actually invites him to dinner.
Her parents love the pairing as well,
Yes.
since he's a doctor.
Bender starts to get a little bit into D&D, and the professor warns that he's going to go totally insane. So Fry tries to intervene very poorly, and Bender goes totally insane.
He absolutely does.
And ends up in the Hal Institute for Insane Robots. Meanwhile, we are revealed that dark matter and its potency is Farnsworth's own invention, because he created a particle which charges up all the dark matter.
Something science.
Something science. But there's also an antiparticle, and the plan is to put the antiparticle together with the particle to make all dark matter inert, just to
make it poop.
Just to make it poop again, and just to annoy the shit out of Mom.
Literally annoy the shit out of her.
Yeah,
That's
nice.
literally
That's
his
right.
motivation, isn't it?
He's just really angry at
That's
her.
great.
Yeah.
So they track down the reverse backwards particle,
Yes.
which is the dodecahedron die that the kids are using to play D&D. Once they secure it and find it, they go on a mission to Mum's mine to annihilate the particles. They get there and they find out it's a Niblonium crap farm. And just when they're about to annihilate the particles...
Should you make that more clear? They farm crap of the Niblonians.
Yes.
Not that it's bad at farming.
A crap farm.
Yeah.
It is a crap farm too, to be perfectly fair.
A crap farm that farms crap. There we go.
They just when they're about to annihilate particles is when they're doing a robotomy on Bender, who happens to have a lot of dark matter in his tum.
Yeah, do we see him?
No,
okay.
It's not covered why he's full of dark matter.
Because he had to clean out Nibbler's... No. Sorry, I thought I
No.
had the crucial...
I mean, I buy that
Memory.
he would store that because
Sure, but it would be
we'd
nice
never,
to see it, yeah.
see it, yeah.
Just as it's happening, there's a dark matter resonance, and that makes everyone go into an alternate reality created by Bender's mind.
Yes.
Called Cornwood, which is basically his idea of D&D. They spend a lot of time there basically doing Lord of the Rings. Trying to destroy the crystal by throwing it into molten plastic. Instead of that, Mom wins, and then they go back to the real world, having changed at all.
Yeah.
The
Serves no point.
The only thing that changes is that Farnsworth learns that the stupid son of Mom,
Ignis.
Ignis.
is his son.
He is a daddy.
He's a daddy, and the particles are annihilated, and dark
no
matter,
more fuel in the
no more
world.
fuel. We don't know if Leela ever gets the shot collar off the end.
No.
No, this is not covered. Oh, she does get like a sexual pleasure from it. So maybe she doesn't want it off anymore.
I was fairly sure that she didn't have it in the
They do
ending
not
of
cover
the
it.
episode.
Like it's her whole motivation through most of the movie
But
is
do
getting
you
it off.
remember? Do you remember in the last
I do not.
No.
Oh.
when they're using the Nibelunians as horses, basically, I don't remember if the collar was
No,
still
I
on
don't
or not.
remember. No.
I don't. Oh my god.
Well,
I
a
may
lot
have missed some
happened.
diversions. There's like a diversion where Nibbler explains his origins, like
Right.
how he was on a planet that was made of dark matter and Mum came to harvest it.
Yep.
And then Leela picks him up. It's nothing in that is anything we don't really already know from
Yeah.
inference. It's totally pointless.
Yeah.
So, compadres, what do we think?
This is really bad. I think this is like plot-wise, having just run it down, it's terrible. Like it's very incoherent.
I'm real tired. like I mean, I remember talking before about was it Bender's Big Score? How with time travel, your brain is kind of working to kind of figure out, piece together
Yeah.
what's the actual linear structure of
Sure.
the story. Whereas this one, I'm just like, there's so many bits that I just don't care.
Yeah, you
And-
follow
and-
it, but you just like nothing has any consequence.
And yet, so much time is spent on these things that literally go nowhere. That now I have to wade through all that, and I can't even remember certain things. Like you asked, where did Bender get the dark matter? And I went, no, I remember. No,
I don't.
sorry.
There's a whole thing I didn't really cover about the sons dressing up as owl exterminators and trying to get the crystal from Planet Express.
That's right.
That doesn't really go anywhere either. They just fail and then leave.
They take Nibbler, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Which we don't see.
We don't see it happen.
It would have been nice to, even if it's in the background, then you could go back and be like, oh, they did
right,
take
there,
Nibbler.
there's
Yeah.
him grabbing him. Yeah.
I gotta say, just as a slight defense of the episode, I had fun in that first hour. Like the first,
I
I
did.
understood like I was going, there aren't any stakes, and like it's kind of similar to the Beast with a Billion Backs thing. Is that I was happy to spend time with them. Obviously, in the back of my head, I'm going, where exactly is this going, and when are we getting to the forward thrust of the plot? But I had fun in that first hour, and kind of had a lot of just decent jokes in there, and
Yeah.
it had that Saturday morning cartoon feel
Yeah.
to me. And I was kind of looking at when they went into the base where Mum's ice base for some
Yeah, she's
reason.
drilling in the. She claims to be drilling in the Arctic.
Yeah.
It had that kind
Oil.
of Dr. Freeze, Batman kind of 1960s serial kind of feel to me.
Yeah, a
Just
little
kind of
bit,
the
yeah.
setting and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a bit of fun with it.
There's actually like by the time you get to the book, there's some danger and some stakes, and you may be starting to get a little bit more invested. They have a plan. There's something they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Whereas the first hour, they're not. They're just sort of milling about.
Yeah,
They're
I
not
think-
trying to do anything.
I
at
think
all.
you're right in that I had fun in certain gags and bits where I acknowledge they don't go anywhere. The owl thing, no, it doesn't. It makes no difference to the plot. But man, I did love the we're here to exterminate some owls. Over there, Fry turns around and then they still haven't let go of the owls. Like them.
Takes them about 30 seconds.
Yeah, you think they're gonna knock Fry out? They don't. They hit each other. Then they put the owls on the floor. Fry's like, "I've been looking for a really long time." He turns around. Oh wait, there are the owls.
There's a lot of naive stupidity from Fry that I just really... I'm so attracted to with Fry. I just love his kind of almost blind optimism before he inexplicably becomes Gollum.
over two scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, he ages real bad. I don't know what they put in the air there in that Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
ripoff.
Cornwood.
In
There's a
Cornwood.
thing like I noticed, it's very minor, but when they're all around the conference table, like Fry just sits with his like really slouched with his arms just dangling by his
Yeah.
side, just sort of like staring at the ceiling. It's just a nice little characterization.
Yeah.
for
And he
Fry.
cares about. He's back to caring about Bender now. Whereas,
Yeah,
was it
I mean, he
last-
doesn't try very hard.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. But there's some nice kind of camaraderie there. I love the bit about him. First of all, he's asking Bender to smell this milk.
How long does he hold that milk for? It's like
And
a good chunk of time.
Yeah, he takes it with him
To the sewers.
to the sewers. That whatever was potentially wrong with that milk is definitely,
It's
wrong
definitely bad now. Yeah.
And he drops it anyway. But also, has that been Fry's system of knowing where the milk has gone off by asking Bender, a robot with no smell? Like,
I'm becoming increasingly unclear on what senses Bender does and does not have.
Smidgen. We know he has smidgen.
he definitely has smidgen.
That's about the only concrete one
Once
we
again,
know.
what is smidgen?
But if he doesn't have taste, he doesn't have. Well, if
smell?
he can't have taste, if he doesn't have smell, he can't have taste.
I mean, they are separate, but I get what you're getting
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
In that to eat
It could
things,
be.
Yeah.
Well, that could be why he doesn't have a taste, because he doesn't have a nose, so he can't smell.
Do you think he gets pleasure from smoking cigars and drinking, or is it just like
Well,
purely a
no,
fashion
drinking's,
thing?
Drinking-
a necessity.
It's a necessity,
What
but he
about
does
smoking?
take joy in it, right?
Yeah.
He has no reason to need to smoke cigars.
Well,
he can't taste them.
Some people just really love drinking water.
Or is it, that he
You
thinks...
know those people where they're like, "Oh, have you had enough water today? Oh my god, I
good-
drank
good
like
water."
4 liters of water today."
Or is it just kind of, really help Bender in his sense of thinking he's really cool? If he
I think
smokes
that's-
cigars.
that's-
Possibly.
my-
Is that why he
it's
went
purely-
to play Dungeons and Dragons? The game most.
He just doesn't like to be excluded from things.
That's true.
It's
I
his
really-
whole motivation.
I
for
really-
Tell him
playing.
he can't do something, he'll do it.
Yeah.
I
Or
really
try
like
to do it.
Bender in this episode. This is one for me that it fits my preferred characterization of him, where he's just a
whiny child.
he's a whiny child who wants to be included and doesn't like to be ignored or neglected or left out. He likes to be the center of attention, so he will try anything to be included.
His gay abandon in becoming a fantasy character
Yeah.
is quite endearing.
It's cute.
Yeah.
I'm also really a fan of Leela in this episode and her arc. Like, I like that we're touching on this thing of Leela's anger issues, which is a really big running thread throughout
Yes.
the series.
Can I just ask, what arc? She's mad at the beginning, she's mad in the middle,
Well,
and she's
no,
mad at the end.
I agree with Sean. Like, she, I guess to a certain degree, she everyone else sees her anger thing as a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then she
tries to abandon it as well.
She tries to abandon it a little bit. She
Yeah.
sort of comes around to other people's way of thinking, and then she realizes that it's her. It's part of who she is,
Yeah.
and then she uses it to save the day.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
finds it's an
Side.
asset rather than a hindrance a
Yeah,
lot of the
that's
time.
right.
And
I don't find it to be too much of an arc because
It's not,
They
yeah.
don't really ever address Leela's anger as a like
She
they're
never
annoyed by
really
it,
sees it as a
but they
problem.
always be like, "We'll sick Leela on them." Essentially, like they use Leela's anger for their own gains in everything else Futurama related, and in this one, I feel like maybe that arc would have been more powerful in when she's being one with her centaur people and to convince them to do violence she has to do the debate, but then we find out in the debate she just punched Hermaphrodite, and it's like, well, it could have been really good if she had actually like
Used
debated,
debate to
you know,
win an
to
argument
then,
out violence.
yeah,
And then
Right.
Hermaphrodite hit her, which would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I still think it's a really solid arc because in the end she realizes I don't need to be ashamed of this aspect of my personality, and she knows it's a strength of hers. She uses it, and that's what kind of helps out the team.
Yeah, I'm kind of on Sean's side. You're kind of giving
I'm
me
not.
the evils.
punch you all later.
Yeah, get your inner Leela out.
No, but
It's good.
she's never ashamed of it. She's not.
She is, yeah.
She is.
After she eats the hearts. And
She's like, no, I absolutely can't do that. I need to stop doing this, and she goes full the other direction.
Right.
And she goes to... There's a montage about her learning peaceful way. Her with the wimpy ways.
Yeah. I thought more in terms of, I guess from that sense, this story
happens very
feels-
quickly.
This story feels
But it's still
very
there.
disjointed.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
because
Completely.
when we're
100%.
talking about her anger issues, it doesn't really like that centaur arc. Yeah, makes sense. But then if you connect it from the shock collar in the beginning,
Yeah.
it kind of feels really weird. Like
It doesn't quite line up,
no,
does it? Yeah.
it feels like too. And I know that this is because there's a whole team of writers who are not in the same room, or
Yeah.
just,
Send it by snail mail back
it
and
does
forth.
feel like a group project gone wrong.
It does a
where
little
you're
bit.
just like, I'm not even gonna bother collaborating with you idiots. Like, just send me whatever you did, and we'll hand it up at the end.
to like stick on kind of plot
Yes.
and that issue, and versus what you're saying before is like there is fun and there is laughs to be had.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Futurama writers make great gags, make great jokes, keeps you laughing. It's not enough to hold this together.
Oh no, 100%.
It really isn't. That's I think that's the problem. You start to be like,
Yeah, 'cause
what
if-
else are you gonna do here?
if
Because
this
just
was
stringing references together.
Yeah, if this was a half-hour episode, maybe like it would be enough to kind of jump from gag to gag to gag to go, oh yeah. Whether or not it would have been a kind of memorable episode or one of the ones that are just more a bit of a laugh. Like,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know.
just the Cornwood bit
Yeah.
would make a quite good episode where
Yeah.
you just go, kids are playing D&D, he decides to use his imagination, he goes too far, he
Yep.
creates an alternate reality. And that's the episode.
Yeah.
That feels like pretty decent,
Although
self-contained.
the whole Cornwood bit in the movie, as we're talking about it, I felt I don't know if it's just because I was really tired at that point, but it felt really like there was not a lot of, funnily enough, imagination in the jokes. Like it was just kind of Lord of the Rings. You've all seen it, right?
And then
Okay.
later, Star Wars, you've all
You've
seen that
one,
too, right?
Yeah. And like, various kind of stereotypes of fantasy pop culture. And I'm like, there's something really funny that you could do here, I'm sure, but it's just kind of like, reference.
You don't even get that much more insight into the characters.
No.
Like, because they either become like just really over the top cliches, or they're just used as a reference. Like Fry just becomes Gollum. Like it doesn't really tell you anything about Fry himself.
No.
It's just like, oh, what if Fry turned into Gollum? Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
What if Amy was a mermaid slut? Like that's it.
A water nympho.
What an info.
I did really like that name.
I find that as a positive for the episode. I think that
Yeah.
Futurama, like they really have some strengths when they take certain episodes. And like, for example, when we looked at Fear of a Bot Planet, they added in we called it references. Like you want references with a reason, and they just put in things like Tetris and a few others, and it's like, why is that reference in there? Whereas when they go for episodes where the entire thread of the episode is a parody of a certain thing.
Yes.
So like Fry in the Slurm Factory or to a lesser extent the Titanic episode. Like they take the whole episode and they make it around that central thing. I don't mind if you've got if you don't have as much character development, because we've, in the grand scheme of the other movies, we have that. This is deliberately set up to be predominantly a Lord of the Rings reference. And for someone that has seen Lord of the Rings, I like that you've got this thing of, what if someone was this character? What if someone was this character? Because, it's not a perfect episode, and structurally you are looking at that. But as far as making it a Lord of the Rings thing, I don't think it's lazy.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
you're taking characters, you find out which characters they relate to, and then you generate content off that.
I may disagree just because I don't think the characters related the best that they could have. Like, let's say take Anthology of Interest. Is it number 2?
Yeah,
with
number
the
2 with the Wizard
Oz
of
one?
Oz.
Well, that explores Leela's anger much better, I feel, than her as a centaur. Like, I don't get why Fry's Gollum. I don't get why she's a centaur. Why is Hermes hermaphrodite apart from to make that joke?
Well, with Leela, I think it does explore her anger better in this one than it does in Anthology of Interest. And with Fry, there's kind of that selfish part of his personality that does crop up from time to time. And I think it's kind of in keeping. Like besides Bender, I think Fry as a person I would definitely put in the position of Gollum out of anyone else.
You make a good argument, I have to say, and I think maybe my issue is a bit basically it's a bit nitpicky, perhaps.
Yeah,
and I definitely agree that the concept of doing a whole Lord of the Rings parody is not a bad idea at all, and maybe it could be done slightly better. But I don't think it's actually the weakest part of the episode
No,
by a
100%.
long shot.
I think
some of the early stuff where you said, I was having fun for this, is probably some of the stuff I dislike the most, weirdly, is like the Destruction Derby is I don't really...
There's not really that many gags in it.
There's
either.
like silly things like, Scott Bakula, you had a bad TV series.
or Leela just putting in the language of the plurals, and it's just like kind of a Sal Leela
A's
interaction.
used.
Yeah.
Using
Sal's death, a week
guess-
away from retirement or so, whatever.
what I'm conscious of, and what I have been conscious of, is I think there is everyone is really hard lined over to Benner's Game being this awful movie and it's absolutely shit and there's nothing, and I don't see it as that bad. It definitely has a lot of problems with it, and I'm gonna say it's the weakest of the three movies so far. But there's a more positive aspects to it that people want to give it.
I don't think it deserves vitriol. Definitely, I probably wouldn't watch it again. And there's gags that I really enjoyed, but for me it's just too long, and the bits that I didn't like just kind of drag it out. For me it's on par with kind of a few of those episodes where we were just well, it's okay. It's definitely not, I don't think, the testament to the strength of the writers and the animators that really good episodes of Futurama have been. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just on strength of feeling.
Yes.
Which I guess you're still talking about is that, the internet, when people dislike something, it becomes like a pissing contest.
Yeah.
Just to see who can really dislike it
yeah.
more.
Shit on
No,
it the
you
most.
can't. You can't like this thing that I have said I've disliked. You're wrong.
Because I really dislike it. But there's also, even when it's not antagonistic, it's an echo chamber of people going, I dislike that. And they're like, yeah, what? That's because it's fucking shit, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah, you're right. It's fucking awful. And so I feel like there's this there's a general dissatisfaction with the movies where people think, they've got big problems with them.
Yeah.
And this being the weak, if not the weakest of the bunch, definitely down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done
All of them.
Wide Green
Yonder
Yonder yet. That people take the kind of disappointment with the movies and dump it all into this one.
Yeah.
100%.
And so they're like, oh, this is freaking terrible. I think there are aspects of it that are terrible.
Yes,
I think
100%.
the plot and the main thing is just awful.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of random threads that kind of just don't connect up to each other. I was really kind of confused with at first why we were doing the whole derby thing. It seems like they do a lot of a roundabout way to get to the point about dark matter.
Yes.
We didn't really need the derby.
You
Why
could have
couldn't
done it in
just be
5 minutes.
Yeah, fuels up. Why? Well, because of Mum.
Yeah, you're straight away with Mum and Farnsworth.
Yeah.
It's a really quick way of getting
Does
to it.
Farnsworth really need an excuse to hate Mum? No, he hates her. We could have just jumped in there.
It's this weird general dissatisfaction I have with and I understand why you do it, but when long running series, especially when they go to movies where they feel the need to have to explain things that have happened before in order for people to catch up. Whereas it's something that Serenity, for example, if you look at the Firefly universe, they don't do that.
No,
Serenity,
they jump straight in.
It stands alone as a movie in itself. So if you do jump in blind, which I did, I watched Serenity before I knew about Firefly. I wasn't lost. Yet if you watch, weird.
That's probably better, I think, because
Well, it might be,
otherwise
yeah.
Firefly is getting you really connected and invested in this world and this story, and then Serenity is just like,
It's over
and
now.
now your dreams are done. And also, I'm going to punch you in the face after this movie, and you're like,
They feel the need to really over-explain the Mum Farnsworth relationship. It's after I've been with them for the third time after twice realizing it's I don't need that.
Yeah, and the same thing about Nibbler as well. They're just over-explained.
Yeah,
Well
they did.
over-explained.
They did two things where first they plotted on as if, the events of the previous movie hadn't happened, where Nibbler speaks in front of all of them and he doesn't erase their memories afterwards, and it keeps plotting on as if that hasn't happened and it's just a hard reset. But then Nibbler goes on, Fry and Leela, whoever, they explain, no, that did happen. We just kept acting the way that we did because it was cute. It's like, if you're going to do that, you probably didn't need to explain.
It did do for me what Beast with a Billion Backs did for you, because when you were having the problem with why Kif would be so angry, and then they said it right to your face, you're like, okay, I'm appeased.
Yeah.
I had it with this. I'm like, why is everything back to normal? Why are you not worried about Nibbler? You weren't reset. It's like, we know that. I was like, well done, Futurama.
I
You
guess
should have done it earlier.
the Nibbler one for me didn't work because it did take too long. And it starts kind of pulling the plot down in terms of how fast it can move, and then it goes in and does the line. Whereas it's literally I think it was 1 second of me going, oh, okay. And then the Kif line happened, and I went, oh. All right, I'll shut up now.
It kind of would have been nice to address it, like at
Yeah.
the beginning, if they just walk past Nibbler and go, "Hey, Nibbler, hi, what?"
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because they're gathering his poo, and like there was a point where they're like, gathering his poo. It's like, wait, Nibbler's back.
Yeah.
And you sort of go, oh, are they going to address this? And then way later they do, and it's not
No,
satisfying.
it should have been right at the front or not at all,
Because
probably.
Beast with a billion backs directly addresses Bender's big score. It is a strict continuation, where so you assume that all of them are going to run that similar type of thread, whereas Bender's game kind of starts as its own film. It doesn't feel like a natural continuation. Kind of would have been nice if they somehow just, even if it's, have the Nibbler thing, Nibbler returning may have been a nice, because he just evaporates into nothing at the end of Bender's big score. You could have made that just like the way to kind of lead into it, to, if you want to address that, make it his return.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you've got him, Nibbler's back, the poop, dark matter, that you lead in, you can kind of tie that thread.
He can come back and go like, oh, I've discovered a way to prevent the tear from... Oh, right. You've
done it.
Okay. Back to normal.
Yeah. I got to take a poop.
That's right, yeah.
And then Farnsworth's like, great, because, antimatter's gone up, or dark matter's gone up.
Why is that? Mum.
Oh, don't get me started on her.
Just feels like they focused on the wrong things.
Yeah.
There's too much of the sons. Like, they're not that good at characters. They're okay every so often, but they do the slap gag about 15 times.
Ooh.
Yeah. Also,
More.
I don't like expanding on Mum's sons because it makes me sad. Like, they're just abused children with and the more
Isn't that hilarious?
well, exactly. It's funny to have them in a once-off, which is like, you idiots, slap them, and you're like, ha ha ha. And then if you show their horrible growing up and her literally using her babies to shield herself from an explosion, which works, flings them across the room, and all the abuse hurled at them, I'm like, I'm just not having fun with this previously just kind of throwaway gag that I used to laugh at, and now I feel guilty.
They do learn some valuable lessons, though, like how to fire people on the spot.
Yes.
The boss goes, "You fired," or something.
I like keeping a tally in animation of how many times characters very well should have died.
Yes. That's
Oh,
Farnsworth through the wall.
the elevator.
The elevator.
They're dead.
Fry looks very dead. He's not moving.
Wait, why doesn't he die in the fantasy world? Did that
He
get
gets wrapped in
explained?
vines.
Okay,
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
wizard's place.
I'm with you.
Oh, he does too.
Which
Yeah.
I imagine are magical vines.
There's a lot that's just been kind of jettisoned by my brain of this film.
I was trying to figure out, plot-wise, why Fry and Leela were the only ones that were aware that a change had happened. Because when they come into the world, they're like, oh, Bender! And they're still talking about, in this world, in
Yeah.
that
Well,
world.
Bender's crazy.
Yeah,
Bender's crazy.
I thought that would be the explanation. Before we met the other characters who are just completely integrated into them.
That's right.
I thought it was going to be everyone but Bender because it's Bender's creation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But-
keep having to question everything
Fry and
about
Leela
this
are
plot.
aware, but Farnsworth, Hermes, Amy,
None of
Zoidberg, none of them are aware. And I was kind of curious as to why. Is it because of the Delta brainwave? But then Leela, then I don't know.
Yeah, they don't really establish those rules. They're
Yeah.
just going to get lost into it.
Yeah.
Like
Which is
time
weird
travel,
because-
establish it and stick to it.
Yeah.
If they did make an episode or even a film, let's say, with the D&D idea, with that as kind of a central thing to then riff off, it's full of rules. And lots of people have differing opinions on Community, but I really love the Community Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, me too.
Episode,
Yeah.
and I think Community's the same thing where it's always one thing that then we're going to riff on for the plot, and that works, varying degrees of how well they pull it off, but it's a good structure.
Yeah.
And good episodes of Futurama have used that structure, whereas it's just too broad, I think, to then pull it into one thing, and then not the right things are explained, and then things that
It also has no consequence,
no,
which is deeply unsatisfying.
And there should be consequences because
Not
fuel
like-
has now been eradicated
Yeah.
at the very end as well.
But not just
no, but
that.
in
Like-
in the scheme of the actual
yeah, in
world
the scheme
as
of the
well.
whole
Yeah.
episode, it feels a bit unsatisfying.
No.
It's like, oh well, we win, but we kind of lose. But in the fact that at the end of the Lord of the Rings bit, Mom wins. She gets the crystal. She glows purple. There's a huge explosion. Everyone just goes back to exactly where they were.
Yeah.
Like, they have her victory inside the thing doesn't mean she has won in the real world.
No.
Well,
Like, she doesn't have the crystal
put them into
now.
the world. Put him
They
Bender's
fell
imagination crossed
straight
with
through.
A dark matter resonance. They just fall through the floor and
So-
end up in the world.
So something similar or reverse should be what takes him out, but it's a winner. I guess the explanation is because it is technically also a game of D&D. It's the end of the campaign. so
Yeah,
she wins.
something like
I guess
that.
that's a way to look at it, and then just that has no tangible effect on the real world because it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But that's
But they-
doesn't so unsatisfying.
No, I know. Oh, I
Yeah.
agree.
And also, if it like it's D&D, right? So, well, why don't they have a dungeon master?
Why don't they use the dice more?
I
It's just the
know.
one die of power.
And
like-
literally, Fry
Yeah.
forgets he has it, and I forgot he had it. I forgot a lot about this episode, and I went, "Oh yeah, that thing is pretty integral to the plot." Hey,
Better get that out every so often.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
don't use it a lot. Whereas, put Bender as the dungeon master, and that's why this world is so wackadoo and like.
A really obnoxious
You know what I
dungeon
mean?
master.
Because
Dwight be the dungeon master
Oh,
to
yeah.
keep it the same, right?
Well,
And
I
he
think Dwight's
appears
too,
in the
like-
sky
just
or
like a
something.
floating head.
Yeah. And they get annoyed because he's like a bad dungeon master
Yeah.
or he's not very creative or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
you know?
I
or
mean-
he keeps making it harder
Oh,
for
hold on,
them.
I got to look this up.
Yeah. Some fucking
Yeah.
riffs on the actual D&D rather than turn it just into Lord of
Yeah.
the Rings thing.
I mean, we could have the continuation of Bender's kind of story. I mean, if that was its own film, so he wants to be, so it's basically it's
He's
not the
cured for no
it's
reason
not the
as
first
well.
arc, but like say, okay, so he wants to have an imagination, he works at it, and then it goes into overdrive, and then I'm saying put him as now he wants to make his own creations. He becomes the dungeon master of this alternate reality, and everyone has to try and deal with Bender. And like, you know,
Bender as DM would be a freaking nightmare.
exactly. And because so many other episodes, the plot hinges on Bender being terrible to his friends and like possibly loved ones. So like, yeah, that'd be fun because it would be. You wouldn't have to explain why things suddenly throw curveballs because
Yeah.
Bender's being an idiot
Yeah.
or being cruel or malicious kind of thing.
He's just being like a rules lawyer. And
Yeah.
it's like, this is what the encounter is. This is what it says in the book. This is
Yeah.
what happens.
Reading it right here, look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should move on to favorite moments.
Yeah, because we basically just talked about structure for the whole
Yeah.
time.
Whoops.
Or a bit about character as well, you'd say. So the killbots for me are really good. I love the
Yes.
killbots.
What did you say?
Hey, what's everyone talking about?
That's a really good joke.
Yeah.
They don't overuse it. They use it a couple times.
It's a rule of threes, I'm pretty sure. They do
Yeah.
it in the
trenches.
In the
trenches. They turn around towards... They do it to each other.
Yes. I don't
Oh,
know
We
if
no,
do
it's
see
the
don't
them
they
third
do
again.
it-
We do
they-
see them again, but I don't know if
They
they
do
do the
it to
joke
the
again.
brothers first. The brothers,
Yeah,
the
in the-
sons,
in the trench.
yeah.
Brothers
front.
first, the
Oh,
two
yep.
guys do it to each other.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I think it's
Yeah.
just two
Alright.
jokes. But it's still
Yeah,
really
it's good.
good.
It's
They're
not
great
overused.
characters.
Yeah, they remind
What?
they remind me of the turret robots from Portal.
Oh,
Except
yeah.
those ones are a bit. They don't have such an abrasive voice.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, stop when you point them at each other and make them kill each other. Wow. Oh,
dark.
what a violent puzzle solving game.
Pick me up.
I like that Farnsworth has to explain to Fry and Leela that they weren't in the ship, and that was like the plan all along was, we weren't actually in there. Like right next to them.
I love the fact that quantum physics means anything can happen for any time for any reason.
That's my understanding of. I like the random episode of Scary Door
Door.
that's in there,
Yeah.
where the aliens are destroyed by T-Rexes.
This isn't part of the. I keep saying episode. This isn't part of the film, but opening credits. I love the yellow submarine version of the Futurama theme. Like
Yes.
the animation is quite amazing as well, but also what they do with the theme, making it kind of more Beatlesy, putting in that guitar, that distorted guitar, but then also the kind of plinky plonkiness. Of,
I
Well
really,
described.
I really
you.
dig the ship as yellow as well. Whenever
Yeah.
they get the chance to kind of change the color scheme, like when it was Awesome Express, it was red,
Yeah.
bright red because it goes faster, and this is a yellow ship. I'm really digging it.
yeah.
I do. I just like the creativity on display when they use other animation styles.
Yes.
It's really fun,
Yeah.
that bit.
Which
yeah.
there is an episode coming up in the new series where they play with 3 distinct animation styles, like
Oh,
kind of like
nice.
a anthology of interest type.
Nice. Yeah, I
So
like
I think
that.
one's going to be anime, one's kind of old timey,
Yep.
Steamboat Willie style, and
Nice.
one's something else.
There's some stuff in the robot asylum that's quite good.
Yeah.
The
Hammer therapy? Or?
The hammer therapy, when the therapy bot just gets crushed, like his head gets smashed, and then everyone steps on him.
Yeah.
And then he's back, like 2 scenes later. I think he gets killed again, maybe.
It's a robot. You can just replace them.
That's right. You have like a really Sean have a really visceral reaction to Nurse Ratchet.
Oh,
you
she's
really hate her. And
She's
her
one of the
voice.
most terrifying Futurama creations.
How do you feel about like the actual Nurse Ratchet?
Well, here's the thing. I haven't actually watched the film.
Really?
This,
Oh,
this is my
really?
first response to Ratchet.
Okay, because it's pretty similar. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Oh, yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah,
It's
that-
a direct parallel.
Yeah, like the actor does a wonderful job of being so sickly sweet when underneath
also
is
being
so
a
much
monster.
malice. Like
Yeah.
it's weird. Like you can feel it kind of radiating off her, even though she's just smiling so sweetly.
This robot is. I have as much of a visceral reaction to this robot as the Wigbot, the little machine that comes in. I'm a pretty girl. Like that is a
I
creepy
like the
ass
Wick
design.
robot.
In that bit as well, I really like the joke about the Jetsons robot maid having
Oh,
having,
Bit
having
dark.
killed the dog and the son.
They were,
Elroy.
they were dirty.
Dirty.
Oh god.
it's really dark.
I love Farnsworth's
me.
invention of the monkey switch.
Oh, that scene is brilliant, and the bit preceding it is brilliant as well, where Fry goes in to talk. Does he talk to? He goes in to talk to Bender, and he's like, "Hi, Bender." And Bender's really freaking weird, and he's like, "Okay," and he just backs out of the room.
Does he
Just
still have
really-
the milk or no?
he just really awkwardly backs out, and then he goes to speak to the professor. And
Yeah.
the
Who's now a
professor's
monkey.
just talking to him
A
through
really
monkey.
expressive monkey.
It's really, really
Zoidberg
lovely.
does something right in this
What?
episode. He gets like without fail gets the keys out of the professor, and
Yes.
it's kind of like there's a nice mundane manner in which he's bringing out the keys that makes me feel like this is pretty regular, maybe for Zoidberg.
Yes, but then Zoidberg does something really wrong
Yes.
when they go to put the keys back in.
It's not really wrong. It's just a different way.
I'm not sure Farnsworth consented to his stomach being. He had to put stuff back in.
He just tosses it back in.
I have to say, though, if it was Farnsworth at the reins, absolutely he would have no problem cutting open someone and having their organs out. He
No.
loves that stuff.
There's a whole running thing in Futurama of like horrible physical consequences having no real consequences when people get cut open and their arms cut off or crushed.
Hermes should have
or
died.
Yeah.
Hermes' body gets crushed. Like these things, they have no consequence for the people in the world.
Why do they have an anatomically correct Fry doll?
Yes. Very
Oh yes,
Why?
So just a quick one-liner. Has Farnsworth been doing voodoo? I don't know.
What? Yeah. What other uses does it have?
I mean the what felt like the 5 minutes they dedicated to the eviscerator joke, the info ad about the
Oh!
knife.
Yes.
I know that I've talked about a lot how things really weigh down how the plot moves in this myth film, but I liked it. I really laughed so
Because you
much.
think it's going to finish, and then
And
the
it just
third fry comes
Keeps
on.
on going. Also, I love shit infomercials. Shit infomercials. Is there anything?
There's never good
there's
infomercials,
No
is
good
there?
infomercials. In fact, the worse they are, the better they are. Like I love that. And then the other Fry as well as the kind of person who goes, "Oh, well, I can't believe that. No, it's true. I've got
It's stag handle at that price." And the time, I mean, part of that gag is how far they push it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why it kind of works. And then he just has the knife. Like, I guess he called them
guess
and
he-
got
yeah.
one. I don't know how that works.
But
he just has it in the next scene.
Yeah.
And then
He called up.
Yeah, and then he tries to stab...
Bender.
He tries to stab Bender. And interestingly, Bender's... his house motto is... Machina Ex Deo,
Yeah.
which is a nice, fun gag of Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Whatever. So instead of God in the machine, it's machine in the God.
Yeah.
It's nice. I like it. It made me giggle. I wrote it down. A harpsichord wax being the reason that that he's trying to experiment in dark matter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's he's trying to make a harpsichord wax.
I love that scorpion venom can blind you even though you're wearing glasses
Just the fact that she's using a scorpion.
to pluck her eyebrows.
eyebrows.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty
nice.
great. Murder kangaroos. If I had a choice in a giant animal that would I would only employ to kill people, it'd be kangaroos. They're
Kangaroos,
terrible. They're so terrifying.
There's a very
Ugh.
silly boomerang joke.
Oh,
Very
beautiful.
afterwards. It's very silly joke.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because he's like testing the limits of it. You can see the boomerang poking in the background.
Yeah. It doesn't get me as much. I think it's a bit
Yeah.
beyond the pale.
I love
that
it.
joke.
I do enjoy it. There's nothing too funny about it. They talk about murder holes. Like the castle has a murder hole, but that's an actual
It's a real
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
And it's called Murder Hole. Like, I know it's a funny name. But yeah, you literally have a murder
It's a hole.
in
We
a
murder
castle
people in it. Murder
where
hole.
you pour boiling oil down into people who are like trying to invade the castle.
Random castle nomenclature. I can't say that word.
Nomenclature.
Fact.
Nomenclature.
Have you ever heard of someone devious plan called machinations?
Yes.
Well, a machination is a bit where the top part of the castle, the top of the wall, leans over a bit, so you can drop things through the
Yeah.
holes. Those holes are called machinations.
Yeah.
It's a cunning plan to defeat your enemy.
Ah.
I feel like I did learn. I don't know.
Before we
Castle fact.
wrap up, was there any bender functions?
So he has a small flap in his head that gives you access to a central processor.
That's right.
That's all I can think of. I guess
I
he
have-
has a visor attached to his face
I-
in the fantasy world.
I kind of have one, but not really. Well, he goes like like where you kind of make a lip trill by like
to be insane.
by like how would
Flicking
you
your
describe?
lips.
Yeah, you flick your lips up and down,
noise.
and he does that even though he does not have any lips. So that was my little bender
Good
function.
point. I feel like we're missing one, but
That's
didn't
right.
Didn't stick in the brain.
So we should head on to a vote. And we are pitting Beast with a Billion Backs up against Bender's Game.
Beast of the Billion Backs is way better than this movie.
Yeah, I'm going with Beast with a Billion Backs too.
I don't know how much I have
Guys,
to
you got to
dissect.
take the vote seriously.
I don't know
No,
why I haven't.
I'm the same.
Yeah, but guess we could dissect why, but it feels pretty obvious.
I
The
think
jokes
we've
are better and the plot is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've spent the last 40 minutes explaining why.
What's wrong with
Yeah,
this
there's
movie?
just it's just too disjointed. Like
Yeah.
it needs to be one thing, and like in this film, they're really crossing their nerd streams where they're just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
throwing references at me, and I'm like, this isn't Family Guy, okay?
The
I
Star
came
Wars
here for
thing is
some-
wildly out of place as well. Is that it
Yes.
came out of nowhere
Not
and
great.
it's references with a reason once again. You can't just
Yeah.
pop it in there.
I
and
mean, you really liked Mork, so
yeah.
I mean, Mork's, the reason is that it's a hilarious pun,
Yes.
yeah.
Mork
I do,
and orcs.
I do.
and the Morks are like an impediment to them.
Yeah.
Right. It makes
Yeah.
sense with what's
Yeah, yeah.
happening. Whereas they fight with lightsabers. As he even says, like, "I'm trying to help you." Like, it doesn't make any sense.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
It just popped in like it doesn't even have a sense within D&D.
Yeah.
Like whereas Morks, orcs,
Yeah.
it's great.
It's
Yes,
more. It's
yeah.
more. Like
It's a fine line. But
I like the pun. Don't get me wrong. But there just seemed to be a real kind of mean-spirited thing of like I know people constantly are like, it's a bit of a trend, isn't it? To be like, Robin Williams stuff isn't funny. It's just so much random stuff. Stop paying attention to all the random improv. But I'm like, I fucking love Mork and Mindy. So
I would wager that they do too. I don't think it's a maliciously intended joke. I think it's a funny voice. It's Mork, it's Orc, and they ran with it. I don't think it's malicious.
they do
There's a
dismember a kind of
Well, it's
figure that.
D&D. Of course, they're going to be dismembering them. It's not. I don't mean it's malicious.
There's a little joke in there about how it's not funny.
Yeah.
Like, there is a little bit in there, but I don't think it punches down.
No,
that
I don't think so.
It's
either.
more. It's more. I'm just like, I really didn't enjoy this episode, and for them to think that they're so much better than Mork and Mindy, I'm like, fuck you. I love it.
I think
Anyway.
there's an issue just to kind of maybe finalize my thoughts on why this isn't as good
Yes.
as
Yes.
the other one. is that, as you say, like this has structural issues. That was my issue with Beast with Billion Backs.
Yes.
Is some structural issues, and this is worse.
Oh, yeah.
At the exact same thing. So it feels like they've gone big step backwards. So that's why for me it really is underneath it.
Yeah, cool. So it's going to be Beast with a Billion Backs. Tops it until next week, where we hit the last of the Futurama films, Into the Wild Green Yonder. Do we want to hit any voices? You have a.
You leaned in there. To
I
very
thought you had someone.
There's like a. Hey, I just remembered Morbo has a bit in this movie.
Yeah,
just FYI.
Oh, yeah.
the Tea with Titans.
T, which is great, but we totally didn't mention it at all.
It's not
That's
really.
all right.
Like Morbo's, I was just thinking of good voices because Morbo's a good voice. I know we've done him at some point. Is there anyone in this?
There's
that's new.
Dwight and Cubitt's new friends, but
They don't have.
And I know
voices.
we haven't done the Sons.
Oh, we could do Ignis.
We're
owl exterminators.
You have
crystals.
You gotta unleash the owls, you idiot.
I can't really do it. Crystals. He keeps calling them crystals. Crystals. Wow. So, Cal, I feel like we
done it. We
did
done
it.
it.
Unless
did
anyone wants to chip in more.
Done.
Done.
Okay, guys. So basically, if you'd like to join us next week, please do so. But in the meantime, you can get in contact with us through babybeardmedia@gmail.com, or also we have an active premise.
Let me do it.
Present on Twitter @babybeardmedia.
We're also on Facebook, which is a good place to find out about what little projects we might be working on, and just to join a conversation with us as well.
Yeah. We also have an Instagram if you would like to literally heart it or tell us that we're not pretty.
Oh, please don't do that.
I've heard it before. And don't forget that we also are very importantly on iTunes, and we need that validation. So give us 5 stars.
Rate,
or,
review.
I mean, you can not also, but like do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
And by the time this comes out, we should have also guested on Filmily Fortunes.
Which you said last week.
Well, no, go back, my friend. I said by Friday, which will be 3 days from now, it'll be on.
What?
But by now,
it will definitely have been on.
So I've got my.
Okay.
I don't need to know quantum physics to work out our fucking calendar here.
I've got it on.
I stand corrected.
Filmily Fortune. Movie trivia. We go up against Soiled Restroom Cinema. See whether we succeed or fail abysmally.
Or shit our pants.
Not relevant.
Yeah, we just had some like bad Chinese takeaway or something.
And until that time, I have always been Sean.
I've only recently been Ellen.
And I will never be Phil.
Bye.
Bye.
Fucking
Oh, I'd love to do mocap. Sounds great. Looks great.
or
Cover me in those ping pong balls. Set me loose.
I'm ready.
The lead son, his voice is really like another character from something else.
Yes.
Like
Something
Iago
really
or something.
Not Iago.
No, it's kind of that kind of voice where he's like, oh,
George
you
Takei.
idiot.
It's really like something else.
Yes,
I-
Yeah,
it
no.
just reminds me
some
of some
kind
other character.
Smug character.
Yeah.
Smoog.
Phil does the plot. Phil does the plot. Oh my god, Phil does
There's
the
a
plot.
Leaning into that cockney. I love
It
it.
turns into Dick Van Dyke.
Hello.
Phil does the plot.
Oh, Phil does the plot.
Gather round me, dears.
Ooh.
Listen to our podcast if you've got some ears.
Oh!
I'm coming for you, Dick Van Dyke. I'm coming for you.
It's Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
Oh, of course.
Because
Yeah.
Maurice LaMarche.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's
got
doing
it.
the same voice. Yeah.
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. This is it. You were being a bitch. Because
Whoa.
Cubit was talking, and you're like, what's the name again? And I went, honestly, Cubit. And then you're like, Venom. I'm like, I thought you